I'm Aaron. I'm going to be talking right now about the Master of Science in Applied Computing. And I will say, I'm not going to look at the questions while I'm talking. I'm just going to go through the presentation and we'll address all of the questions at the end. And in terms of the agenda, I'll go through quickly sort of an industry overview of what the tech sector in BC looks like. I'll talk about the program details, what we're actually offering. We'll talk about some of the faculty expertise and the applied topics that people can look forward to studying, and then we'll go to some actual concrete details about the program structure. Okay, so first of all, Vancouver is a tech city. Vancouver has been consistently ranking as one of the top cities in terms of technology growth. So we've got a lot of tech companies inhabiting our city and looking for employees. And better than that, we don't just focus on tech companies. We like to say all companies are tech companies now, because the way the world has changed, we've got, any company that offers any kind of good that they're selling, or a product or a service or whatever, they need IT infrastructure. They need people to, help them set up databases and make web pages and develop software that manages their products. So every company is trying to solve problems using computers. So it's not just tech companies. We're not just targeting companies that are making software. We're targeting any company that's doing anything that uses IT as a component. And this picture, by the way, I'll just say that's our PAC, our Program Advisory Committee in this picture. So this is a group of sort of industry representatives and leaders who we meet with regularly to talk about our programming and what actually needs to be available in the Vancouver area in terms of needs for the tech sector. So I'll mention them again later because they actually inform some of our choices in this degree. This is just a picture of just trying to show the diversity of the tech sector in Vancouver from BC Tech, this picture. So it shows we've got sort of this very diverse collection of companies. We've got really big companies like the Amazons and the Microsofts. We've got these sort of medium-sized companies, and then we've also got a ton of startups. And in addition to all of these companies, we've got a bunch of places like BCIT that are training people to take jobs in these sectors. We've got a bunch of companies that are supporting the tech sector. We've got a bunch of companies that are actually just advisory boards and advisory committees and things like that help direct the way that our tech development works. So we have this very complex and interesting technology sector that we're working on. And over here, there's just some details about, the gigantic number of people that are employed in the tech sector and the fact that it's still growing all the time. So that's all about the tech sector. I want to talk about BCIT and our program. So first of all, BCIT is the largest computing and IT educator in Western Canada. So our students traditionally have been in demand for these jobs. We're known for our hands-on education. We're known for really providing job-ready skills to graduates. And you can see, companies like Clio have really spoken on our behalf as we're providing a real service to the tech community here. Okay, so that's the overview of where we are with the tech sector in BC. So what we're here to talk about today, though, is the Master of Science in Applied Computing. So this is not the first master's degree at BCIT. There's a couple others, but we don't have a lot of master's degrees. This is the first time that computing has started to offer a master's degree. And the idea for this degree is we want to focus on advanced computing problems and interdisciplinary applications. So that is, we want to focus on people using computing technology in sophisticated ways to solve problems that may reside outside traditional computing. So by the way, this picture over here, this is actually a picture of some work done by one of our faculty members here in computing, where he's working on using drones to detect and prevent wildfires. So this is kind of a prototypical kind of problem that we're thinking about. Wildfires are not like a computing problem, but the technology we use to fight them and detect them is actually a computing problem solving issue. Okay, so what is applied computing? So why did I say that? So the master's degree is in applied computing. It's not a master's degree of computer science. It's a master's degree in applied computing. So by applied computing, what we mean is it's the discipline where we apply theoretical and practical computing knowledge to solve real world problems. So That means we learn how to, the fundamental problem solving skills that are taught in computing science, but we also learn how to apply them to real problems. So it's an inherently interdisciplinary subject. It's a rigorous subject in the sense that we're not interested in sort of just coding up something that works quickly. We're interested in, optimal solutions to hard problems. And we're specifically interested in optimal solutions to problems that are found in real world industrial settings. So the motivation for the program is, first of all, that whole picture of every company is a tech company. There's a bunch of problems that need to be solved, and they're not all like, let's make software that works really well or does some traditional software thing. It's like we need to solve problems using AI and using tools that we didn't have 10 years ago, and we want to, come up with better solutions to the problems that are really hurting the planet or that are really, driving economic growth or anything along that lines. So that's why we want to address interdisciplinary applications of computing. Why BCIT? Well, we have BCIT. You can take a master's degree in computing in a lot of places, right? But BCIT is kind of unique in the program offerings we have. We have, because we offer trades programs and different kinds of hands-on industrial kind of programs outside of computing. What that means is we have things like auto mechanics programs. So we have the ability to integrate computing with like electric cars and efficient power storage. We have smart grid research. We have industrial manufacturing facilities. We have smart homes. We have a bunch of stuff that's really practical, real life things that we can use for experimenting and developing computational approaches to hard problems. So our research facilities are unique, and as a result, our personnel are unique outside of computing. I'll talk about that in a second. So this ends up being, although it's a graduate degree in computing, it's a unique graduate degree because it's offering a focus on different kinds of applications that you can't always do in all of the post-secondary world. I just wanted to put up a slide partly to thank all of these companies, but also to make the point that we didn't develop this program in a vacuum. We're not just making up courses and ideas for, a new degree. What we did was we went to all of these partner companies. We're tightly connected to industry. So we went to all these companies and we said, what do you think of this program? What are your actual needs in terms of advanced computing knowledge? And their input to the program was really helpful in helping us decide, what should we actually be offering at the graduate level? And we'll see what we're actually offering in a second. Okay, so the program structure. The program is a full-time program. It will take 4 terms to complete. So that's normally 2 academic years, but it's 4 terms. So if you did all 4 terms in a row, it is possible to do it in 16 months. If you take a summer break, it would be 20 months. We're taking 1 intake of students per year in the fall, 25 new students per year. We're doing in-person delivery, and it'll be offered out of the Burnaby campus. And the idea, again, the fundamental idea is you're going to do a bunch of coursework where you learn about fundamental topics in computing, and then you're going to apply those fundamental computing skills to a problem which may be outside the traditional domain of computing. Drilling down a little bit more into the program, this is the picture of what the first year looks like. The first year there's a bunch of courses, applied algorithms, data science, applied AI, cybersecurity, like a bunch of important computing topics with an applied focus. So the first term you take 3 courses, the second term you take 3 courses, and you come up with a research proposal for what you're going to do in the second year. In the second year, you actually have choices. There's 2 different paths we can take. So there's path 1 is the thesis path. So if you take the thesis path, then you will do basically a full year research project. You'll explore something in real detail under the direction of a supervisory committee that will include computing faculty, but also possibly faculty from outside of computing or industry experts. We'll try to put together interesting committees that allow you to do interesting work. And the thesis path is great because it allows you to go in depth into a specific topic and really solve something novel. And it also is kind of the pathway for people who think they might be interested in, further education down the road. A thesis-based master's degree is the normal way to go about getting into a PhD program, for example. The other path is the project and internship path. So the project path, instead of starting your research right away, you go into an industry placement in your in your third term. So typically the beginning of your second year, you go into an industry placement. So you work in a company. This is supposed to be paid work in a company for 4 months, working on some kind of applied research problem of interest to them. And then you come back after that 4 months, and you spend the next 4 months doing basically an applied research project, which is just a shorter version of the thesis. It's a smaller document. It's not presented publicly the way the thesis is. And then there's one extra course. So the idea is in the project, you do less in the way of like sort of pure research, but you spend a full term working in industry on an applied problem. Okay, so I want to say something about applied research at BCIT. Just the kind of resources we have, first in terms of people. So this is a program that's being offered from the computing department at BCIT. So I should say traditionally people have thought of BCIT, or some people think of BCIT as really focused on diploma level offerings, getting people job ready skills quickly and getting them out to the workforce. And that is absolutely how we started. And over time, we've grown into a bit of a mixed department, in the sense that that is still our main business, is educating these diploma level students to get out and get jobs quickly. But at the same time, we've ended up with this faculty that includes a bunch of people who did PhDs and interesting research and hold external research grants and do a bunch of, sort of high level computing research. So these are some of the people. Here's a list of just some of the names. I always like to put myself at the top. I pretend it's because it's alphabetic, but if you look, that doesn't look like the case. So, you can see my research area. I do AI, I do information security, and I do computational logic. But if you just look through this whole list, you'll see, oh, there's a whole range of research areas. And these are all people who are full-time faculty working in the computing department at BCIT, who are carrying out independent research in important areas. And I should say this is not a complete list. We only wanted to put up one slide. We have a bunch of other people who are doing interesting research at BCIT in the computing department, who will also be able to be, supervisors for research projects for graduate students. But then beyond our department, our computing department, the idea of this degree, again, being interdisciplinary, we have all these other experts in sort of domain areas. So outside of computing, people who are working on research problems that can involve computing in an important way. So you can see here people in the math department, building science department, biotechnology, institute sustainability. We have all these people who they're actually not computer science people. They are people who work on actual problems, but the problems they work on will involve computing in important ways that actually, require advanced knowledge, not just of computing, but their domain. So I got this picture, Dave Holloway here. He's our friend from math. He's been here doing externally funded research at BCIT for a couple of decades, doing, research on fruit flies and on plants and computational biology. And essentially, he's a mathematician and a biologist, but he also hires and supervises computing students to do simulations and to really improve his understanding of the subject. So all of these people are potential supervisors for research in our program. Beyond the people, I mentioned the fact that we've got some interesting research facilities here. I don't want to go through this whole picture, but I'll mention the smart grid lab. We have a long history in smart grid research, so that's like a power grid where you actually monitor and optimize the way you're using power. Our entire campus is essentially a living lab. We have these solar panels everywhere, which are generating power, but then we're also monitoring how it's getting used, and you can store power when you're not using it, and you can really optimize and improve a lot of our inefficiencies in power. We got a smart home where we can monitor all of the features of the house and all the house performance. Is it heating efficiently? Is it, insulated? Is that working? We can monitor everything in it. And all of these facilities give us test beds for computing research just right on campus that you can use to actually study real problems on real devices, on real hardware. This is just one more slide on potential areas of application because, well, we've just got a few specific areas that I anticipate will be important areas. And I'll just mention the first one on the list here, rehabilitation engineering. We have a very well-known researcher over in our applied research division who works on rehabilitation engineering. So essentially he's focused on things like designing devices for people with mobility issues. So people who are in a wheelchair, it can be helpful to have special technology to help the wheelchair either, log how far they've gone, find the best routes that take into account the terrain that you're going over, give you better ways into and out of the wheelchair to get exercise. These are largely engineering projects, but they all involve embedded computing technology. And people in this research group know that with graduate student help on the research side, that they can really embed really complex technology that will allow their research to get even better in terms of supporting people in that sector. So that's just one of the areas, and you can see all these other areas are kind of important areas in the real world that involve some computing. So what are our grads going to go do? Well, here's just a list of stuff. Software engineers, software designers, information systems analysts, interactive media developers. All of the job titles listed here have come to us through our PAC, through our program advisory committee discussions. So we have, targeted jobs in the tech sector, and we have talked to are these jobs really still going to be highly in demand in a couple years? And all of our industry partners are saying yes, these are hard jobs to fill. And moreover, they kind of pointed out there's this problem in the world with well, it's not a problem in the world, but one of the challenges they face is they have this big pool of entry-level developers that they can hire. And they also have a bunch of people who are working at the top or their top level managers. But they said in many cases, what you really need to hire is somebody who kind of fills a middle role, like a technical leader. So they're not a manager of 100 people, but they're not an entry-level programmer. They're in charge of some technology that's complex and requires sophisticated knowledge to actually manage that technology in a small team. And they said those are the kinds of people you need a master's degree. We look for a master's degree as a qualification, and they don't see that many of them coming out right now, and it's hard to find. So that's part of the goal in offering this program, is to fill that need that our industry partners have pointed out to us. Okay, entry requirements. Just check my time here. The entry requirements. So essentially, you need a bachelor's degree in computer science as the default. Okay, so I'll talk about alternate entry pathways in a minute, but the normal expected pathway is you would have a bachelor's degree in computer science or equivalent. So what would be equivalent to a bachelor's degree in computer science? Well, one thing would be the applied computer science degree at BCIT. So if you're a student at BCIT already, or if you know anything about our model, you'll know that we use a 2+2 model for our degree and diploma options. So that means you come in and you take the diploma for 2 years. Some people say, I'm done, I'm going to go get a job, and they leave. And we love that because they go fill important roles in industry. But some people say, you know what, I'm enjoying just being at school, and I think I need a little bit more detailed knowledge of some of the topics I'm interested in to fill the kind of role I want. And they come back and they do another 2 years, and then they get the applied computer science bachelor's degree. Used to be called the B.Tech, by the way, up until about 2 years ago. Then we changed the degree and made it a little bit more in line with the bachelor's degree, bachelor's of science level. So now it's called a Bachelor of Science degree in applied computer science. So that would be a great degree to start with, but it's not the only degree to start with. You can start with any equivalent bachelor's degree in computer science if you're trying to enter through our standard entry pathway. So I'll say the standard entry pathway, you have your bachelor's degree in computer science. There's a GPA minimum here. You've got English language proficiency. There's an applicant questionnaire that we have to fill out, which includes some letters of reference. I'll come back and say something about that in a second. And then I will mention, I'm not going to say anything super detailed about it, but the computing sector, both at the student level and at the in the workforce, the indigenous people are underrepresented, and as an attempt to help with this problem, we offer preferred entry for qualified indigenous applicants. So if you have a bachelor's degree in computing and you're a qualified indigenous applicant and you want to know what this means, I'd encourage you to contact our program coordinator, and you'll be informed what that process is. Okay, so that's the standard entry. You have a bachelor's degree in computer science. There will be people who don't have a bachelor's degree in computer science and they still feel like they want to get a master's degree in computer science, right? So I'm aware of this as a path. I don't have a bachelor's degree in computer science, but I've ended up where I am now. So the alternate entry path, you have to have a degree in something. So you have to have a bachelor's degree in some subject, and then you need to have sort of, broadly a significant computing experience through your education or your work. So it's a little bit hard to define what significant means, but I mean, I've talked to a number of students who say, oh, I had a degree in XYZ, and then I've been working for 5 years, 10 years doing programming. We have to sort of figure out what your actual level of knowledge is in terms of, will you be able to do the course work and the research project at the right level here? So if you're trying to come in through the alternate entry pathway, you have an additional form called the pre-entry assessment form that you have to fill out, which you have to go into real detail in what you actually know about computing and what you've done before. And then that gets evaluated on a case-by-case basis by a committee at BCIT, which will look at your background and try to determine, do you have the right background? Are you going to be able to succeed in the program? And yes or no, but also how close are you to meeting it? Because if you're close, if it's like you're missing some particular subject, we might be able to offer you bridging courses and say, okay, here, just take these 2 courses and then you'll be a qualified applicant or whatever. But we don't have a general. I know people will ask, do you have a specific list of bridging courses? We do not have a specific list right now. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis for each applicant. We're going to have to look at it and look at what their background is and figure out what they need to get themselves up to the right level for a master's degree in computer science. Well, applied computing, sorry. Okay, so I mentioned the application questionnaire. Everybody has to fill out the application questionnaire when you're applying. So there's a general BCIT application process, but this is like an extra process because this is a graduate degree. So on the application questionnaire, in addition to the regular information like your transcripts and that sort of stuff being sent in, you have to indicate the preferred path that you want. You have to do you want to be in the thesis path or do you want to be in the project path? We also ask you to give some proposed research interests or research areas. This is not a final, like, oh, this is definitely what you're going to do. But when you're applying, we do want to know, like, if somebody's saying, oh, I really want to be doing computational biology versus I really want to be doing, applied AI. I want to be doing whatever. We just want to get a sense of what kinds of topics might be the direction you're going to head into. And then, as part of the application questionnaire, you need to give us some people who are going to submit letters of reference on your behalf, because that's a standard process in graduate degree entrance. Costs and supplies. So here's the costs for the tuition, and I will say the numbers, when I see those numbers, I go, oh, that's such a high number. That's for the whole program. So the domestic tuition, you can see 23,500. So, roughly $23,000. That's for the full 2 years. So it's, $12,000 a year as a domestic student for tuition. The international is, of course, higher. And then we have this estimate. We don't, the reality is, people don't use books so much anymore. Like some people will still require a book for a course. So we're saying, yeah, you might have to buy on the order of about $450 a book. So let's suppose if everybody asks you to buy a $100 book or some piece of software. So that's an estimate, but it's really up to the individual teaching the course if they're going to use a paper book or if they're going to use an online resource or if they use stuff. But it would be safe for you to assume that it could be $450 or so for supplies, including books, per term. And you are expected to have your own laptop. The the classes will not be taught in a room in a computer lab. They'll be taught in a room that just has desks for people to work at. And the assumption is that you'll have your own laptop that you can work on. And if you're interested in like, what does my laptop have to be? The diploma programs also require you to have your own laptop, and so does a degree. We require laptops everywhere, and there is on the computing website, there is a list of what would be considered acceptable specifications for a laptop. So you can't, if it's not like a rule where we say, oh, we're going to look at it and tell you, but we have a recommended sort of newness and sort of technical specifications for the laptop you should have. Financial assistance may be available, so there's a link there for general financial aid and awards. We're hoping over time we'll have people like me. I have my own research grant that I can use. So if I find a particularly great looking student who works in the area that I could supervise, then I will try to give a financial incentive of some kind to that student to come and work with me. So that'll be on a supervisor by supervisor basis. And other than that, there are also graduate awards you could apply for. NSERC offers, that's the National Science and Engineering Research Council, offers graduate scholarships. So everybody's able to apply for those, or MyTax has some funding. So there's a link there that will give you information on available awards. And then summary, I see I'm just at almost half an hour, the long end of what Yuri promised. So summary remarks, I just mentioned, remind you, it's a 2-year program. It's actually 16 months of work, but it's 2 years. I should give a caveat to that. In a graduate program, especially a thesis-based program, sometimes people don't get the thesis done in 2 terms. So it can take longer. There's not like if you didn't get it done in 2 terms, you're done. You can extend. So it will take longer than 2 years for some people, but it is intended to be a 2-year program. It's an interdisciplinary program, focus on applications outside of computing and applying your advanced computing knowledge to solve them. Experiential learning, that's a standard BCIT thing. We're always focused on, really hands-on learning as opposed to pure theoretical learning. Applied research, so that's connecting us with all the different areas which I wanted to mention in the thing, and the focus on real-world application. So we actually want people to apply their computing knowledge to solve real problems that are being faced in industry today. Okay, and that is the end of the slides. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing this for a moment. Sometimes people ask me to share things again, and then I'm going to look and see what I've got in the Q&A. Okay. So I believe I have to scroll to the bottom is what I've learned from Yuri. Is that right, Yuri? I go to the bottom?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So
I think the first one has already been answered by Erdem. So feel free to skip that one.
The one about the CELPIP English exam?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to read the questions out loud because we are being recorded. So I want to make sure that I say what the questions are so that it's clear what I'm talking about. So the next person has said they have 2 questions. What would the course load look like? Approximately how many hours of school and after school activities can we expect? Our class is mostly going to be Monday to Friday. So yes, I said this in the thing, the course load for the first year is 3 courses per semester. So the actual in-class time is not super high. There's those would be 3 hours per week in the class. There's an additional, like a research seminar, which is you can attend like a regular weekly thing just to see what potential projects are out there to do. And then in the second term, there's a proposal course. So there's a course where you work on writing your research proposal, where you try to propose what you're actually going to work on. And that involves no credit and no grade, but it involves showing up for meetings with the program head and working through the process of actually proposing an area of research. The classes are going to be daytime, Monday to Friday. That's the schedule right now. Is an application fee waiver available? That is the second question. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if Yuri or Dem knows the answer to this.
Well, when it comes to these kind of questions, Erdem would be the mastermind to have the answer. But in general, the answer would be no. I can't see a reason why we would give these waivers. Coincidentally, I applied for a course myself, and I'm a staff member of BCIT, and I also had to pay the fee for applying. So fortunately, that would be a no. Erdem can overrule me if necessary, but I'm afraid that's it.
Yes, you are correct, and we normally, it's not a standard practice in BCIT, but if there's a specific situation, I put the email in the comments. You can send me an email and we talk about it over and what can we do about it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I have the next question listed here says, how do you think the employment outcome will be for thesis option versus project and internship option? Will the difference be stated on the graduation credential? So the second part, I believe I can answer no. The credential will just say Master of Science in Applied Computing. So everybody gets the same credential. The employment outcomes. So I'm going to say that it's going to depend on the kind of work. So first of all, if you get a great internship placement in a company that is right in your desired field, then I would think that that would actually give you an excellent head starting advantage over other applicants. So if you're working in computational biology and you spend 4 months working with Genome BC doing real complex computational biology work, I would think that that would be a big advantage as you move into other companies in that area. The thesis option, I would think in the abstract, if you're looking at places like larger organizations, one of my colleagues just got a job at Facebook. I believe, those kind of larger organizations that are doing more pure research activities, they would probably look at the fact that you completed a research thesis as a positive, because it would show some ability to do long-term, in-depth kind of thought or study on a certain topic. And again, the other advantage of the thesis is of course the fact that it does look better when you apply to do a PhD program, for example. It's even though it's not on your diploma, they will look at your transcripts and see, oh, this person did a thesis, and that's generally seen as a positive. But again, this is the first offering of the program, and I think it will be a little bit dependent on your sector and what you've done as your work history in terms of what the different employabilities will be. Okay, thanks for that question. Okay, so I have another pair of questions from somebody. What is the likelihood that graduates of this get a job? Are there any statistics regarding current students? So now, because we don't have current students, we haven't offered the master's degree yet. We don't have statistics on jobs for master's degree applicants. We have statistics on graduates from our other programs, which have historically been really fantastic. Like the vast majority in the high 90s percentage of students historically have gotten jobs in their areas, as in like jobs in computing as opposed to other jobs within a year of graduation. I do not have those numbers in front of me, and I also know that it's a quickly changing landscape in the world. So we will have to see. We're based on our conversation. So first of all, across BCIT, our grads get jobs. Like we have astronomical placement numbers when you look at them. And this is a new program, and I will say that we're trying to fill what we perceive as a need. So I said in the thing that our industry partners have pointed out this need for these, not entry level, but not the boss kind of positions, technical leaders, they were calling them. So that's the directive we've been given, that's an area that's hard. And I'll also say that we do anticipate at the moment, there's a shift in the kind of people who are getting jobs in the tech sector, just as AI technology is getting applied in more and more places. We are finding that you need people with kind of some deeper AI knowledge in order to fill those roles. So these are new jobs that didn't necessarily exist because there weren't so many AI engineers 10 years ago. But now there's just this big need. And it's one thing to say, I can write some code and I can use some AI tools, but to actually deploy complex applications and understand critically when AI tools are helpful and when they're not helpful and how they can make your work better. That's actually an advanced skill that we're finding we need to teach people. And we're hoping that our students coming out of this program will have the right level of practical hands-on skill, but also deep knowledge of how AI works. If you looked at our curriculum, it's not, this isn't a specifically AI degree, but there are a couple of courses already just on applied AI and applied data science. And if you looked at the names in the AI, the research areas for our faculty, we have a whole bunch of people who are doing AI kind of work right now. So we're hopeful that focus is going to lead to some real interesting applications and high employability in those sectors. And the second question from the same person: in the second year, is the internship a paid internship? Yes, that is the intention, that you get a paid job for that time. And ideally, full-time paid job. So those things require some management, and getting those internships lined up is a thing that we help with, but there's also some of the onuses on the student to find, somebody who's going to hire them for that period. We've got a long history of doing co-op programs at the diploma and the degree level, so we're transitioning that to a term in the master's degree level. Now I should say it is possible to do an unpaid research project in a company under unusual circumstances, but the preference is that it's paid work. Okay. Now the next question, is it possible to get an idea of the schedule of the courses? Is it during the day, Monday to Friday? Do you have an example timetable of the program? So I don't have a timetable. I did mention previously, these are graduate level courses. At most institutions, we do 3 credit courses, which means they're 3 hours per week, which could just be one 3-hour meeting. But we consider a 3-course load to be a full, full-time student. So just in terms of BCIT, the students in our diploma are probably in the classroom 30 to 35 hours a week. The students in the graduate in the degree program, the Bachelor of Science, are in class as a full-time student for more on the order of 15 hours a week, because the expectation is, as you move to higher levels, it's like you're in the class for less time, but you're expected to spend more time out of class doing your work so that you are doing, excellent work. So, and then that just gets further in the graduate program. So you have 9 hours of actual class time. There could be labs on top of that, but it's generally going to be, a few days a week where you have actual classes, but the expectation from the people teaching those classes will be that they're going to give you a bunch of work to do outside of the class. So you should expect, that each class is going to, the three classes together are going to add up to basically a full-time workload. So if you were just working all week, all the days, you would sort of fill your time doing the work. That's the expectation. And while you're doing that, you also have to be planning your research proposal, like finding a research supervisor, proposing something, helping with getting a suitable placement if you're in that option. So there's other things beyond that, but basically, the graduate course load of 3 courses is considered full-time at most institutions. An example timetable. I don't have an example timetable. There are practical reasons why the classes will almost certainly be offered between 8:30 and 5:30 on Monday to Friday. But I do not know which days of the week at the moment, because that will probably be at least somewhat dependent on the availability of the right experts to teach them. Thank you for that. Okay, next question. Could you please shed some more light on the internship? How are students expected to secure an internship? Is this something that students have to find on their own, or will BCIT be placing them into companies based on certain criteria? So this is a bit of the answer to that is it's a bit of both. So we have a network of partner companies that we work with all the time, and we have co-op programs at the other levels. So in the co-op program, essentially the employers come to us and they say, I need X number of co-op students. And we say, okay, well, we've got all these great students who want to do co-op, and then they conduct interviews with those students, and then, they select the ones that they want, and those students go off and work. In some cases, the students will find their own job, their own company for a co-op, where they'll say, oh, this place would be a great place to do a co-op. And then they get the company to work with us to, make sure that it's a co-op position that will count for credit for that aspect of their thing. Because you can't just go to, a company that does nothing relevant to computing and then call that your internship. There is some vetting that has to go into whether this is a valid internship company. So yes, we will be helping, and our work integrated learning team, which is outside of computing, will be helping with lining up companies that are looking for co-op students, getting suitable students in front of those companies to have those interviews, and trying to get the placements. It is, ultimately up to those companies to select the students they want. So that's why I say that there's a bit of onus on the student as well to they have to impress one of the companies enough, or to be offered a position, or we can't force them to take a student. So yes, and I guess this is again something we do and have done for many years in our other degrees. So it's an established process. It's only new for this program because this program is new in itself. Okay. Next question. For the program, will students be expected to propose their own thesis topics, or the faculty offer a selection of topics to guide research? So this is an interesting question. In all graduate programs at any institution, because what actually happens is it depends on the supervisor. So I can say from my own experience as a graduate student that I, had 2 different graduate degrees with 2 different supervisors, and both of them were of the mind that selecting a topic for your research is kind of part of the process for you as a graduate student. So they would help me, but they didn't give me a topic. They essentially were like, well, look, this is the kind of stuff, read some papers or read some research that's been done in this area that we're working in, and see what, is of interest to you. And, we would talk about it, and we would find where there's an interesting open problem, and then I would work on it. So There's certainly some graduate supervisors who take that kind of approach where they see themselves as, helping with the difficult, problem of finding a good research topic that's suitable for this kind of degree. There are also graduate supervisors who are more hands-on and directive. So there are people who, for example, have some funding to support a certain number of students, and they have a large project they're trying to get done. And they might really advertise it like a job and say, hey, I need a graduate student who's going to do this project for me. And then they'll find a student who wants to do that and takes on that job. And then they will, support them, but it'll be sort of like handed to the student as like, this is what I need you to do. So that's the range of different levels of support. And I will say it depends on the supervisor. And I think for different students, different approaches work better or worse, right? So there are some students who really don't want to be told, here's the exact thing you're going to do, and they want to explore and come up with something. And there's other students who would rather be given more direction. And ideally, our students will find the right supervisor that provides them the right kind of support for their approach to learning. Okay. Okay, so I have a question. This is a good question. With a BTech from BCIT, would I need to do the alternate entry? And I can conclusively say, no, you would not. So the BTech degree, which we offered up until very recently, is considered for entry purposes a bachelor's degree in computer science or equivalent. And so no, you would just apply with that degree as your entry in the regular path. Okay, I'm a CST and BTech graduate, so this still qualifies even though they have changed the degree now. So that's the same question actually from a different person. So yes, it's the same. It still qualifies. The details of that degree have changed, but both versions are admissible as preparation for this degree. Does the internship path? Yes. So I went through that. The question asks, does the internship path follow the same basic process as the co-op? And yes, that's the plan. We're hoping that we will be able to have more specialized positions in companies that have needs for graduate level kind of work, though. So it should be a smaller pool of companies that are more motivated to get the right graduate level students. So although the process should be similar, I believe that the results will be different in terms of both the number of positions and the conversion rate on getting students in. Okay, last question from this person. Do you foresee graduates going on in the games or animation and film industry? Is this a pipeline or a path that was considered? And this is from somebody who is currently a technical artist. Yes. So graduates going on to the games and animation and film industry would be absolutely a good application. So there's a lot of hard computational problems that go into animation and film production in general. So I'm going to say yes. We don't have people in the computing department who specialize specifically on that topic that I'm aware of as I'm saying it. We have people who teach those topics and could be a co-supervisor. I would probably suggest we would need somebody from outside the department to help as an additional supervisor for that kind of work, which could be somebody from our media department here, or it could be somebody from another school or from a company. So the supervisory committees will always have two members that are from BCIT Computing, basically, but they can also have a supervisor from another institution or a company that can help direct with specialized topics like that. Okay. So I can see it says new posts, so I have to click that. So then I have to scroll down to the bottom. Okay. So there's another question asking about standard entry from the B.Tech degree. So we've covered that. Is a data scientist or machine learning engineer a career outcome of this program? I can say yes to that for sure. Also, how are we tested on our knowledge in the program, exams, assignments, etc.? And then there's a question about application deadline. So, okay, well, I guess the application deadline is what is the application deadline? That's posted on the website. So if you search BCIT, BCIT Computing master's degree, you'll probably get to that page automatically, but you also could navigate to it through our links on the page. The applications have already opened. I don't recall what the deadline is, but I do recall that there are multiple application deadlines. So we've already opened, and then there's a closing for the first round of applications. And then we reopen for the second round, and then there's a second closing date. So you definitely are still in the first round of applications right now. We have not closed the first round of applications, so it's still open for a while. But then the other thing, how are we tested on our knowledge in the program, exams, assignments, etc.? So it's hard for me to answer really definitively that question because it's actually up to the person teaching the course how they evaluate you. But as a general rule, BCIT values sort of project-based learning. So I would expect that most of the people teaching the program would be giving sort of complex projects to work on as a focus of the evaluation in the course. So very often you'll have some smaller assignments and then a large project. You may have an exam, and frankly, exams are coming back into style because sometimes you need to make sure people are the ones producing their work, right? So some increasingly we're seeing people giving exams as a way to evaluate when they maybe didn't as often before. Okay, so next question. I have a 3-year degree, Bachelor of Computer Applications from India. Can I also apply for this course? I'm going to just say yes. We say a bachelor's degree in computer science. This is a bachelor's degree. It's computer applications, but I'm just going to say yes, you can apply. There's no rule that it has to be a 4-year bachelor's degree. I know 3-year bachelor's degrees exist in some parts of the world, although in Canada they're increasingly rare. So yes. Okay, next question. For alternate entry, would personal projects and online courses such as Harvard online courses count towards significant experience? Yes. So some people I've talked to they had a degree in something else, and now they've done, maybe some boot camp type of stuff where, people do these very short programs to get specialized knowledge in some particular area. That all will come into play. And I should say that the goal in evaluating the knowledge level to get into the degree, the goal is to make sure that you'll be able to do the courses that we're expecting you to do, right? Because although people are sometimes feeling like I would like to just get into this thing, you should just let me in with the qualification I have. So I've taught, I teach like algorithms courses often, which are on the theoretical side for computing, and I'm not doing anybody any favors if I allow them into my class if they don't know basic math, right? Because they're not going to be able to succeed. So the goal here is really just to make sure that you will be able to accomplish what you need to in your courses. But yes, the online courses like that do count towards experience. Okay. Is this course offered part-time currently, or any plans to make it part-time like the BSc program? That's a question. So we are not opening up the program as a part-time program. We're opening it up as a full-time program. I believe it would be unreasonable for me to call them plans, but I believe all of us involved with the program would happily offer it part-time if there's demand. We just have to see how many students are going to sign up for this program, how many students want to do it part-time as opposed to full-time. So we will take that feedback when it comes to people say I would rather do this at night. Then we will absolutely take that. It's slightly, because there's so few hours in the classroom, you can still kind of do the classes in the day and work, on the actual work that you have to do at different hours. So there is some capacity to be flexible in your time here. The fact that it's offered as a full-time program is a bit of a more because the supervisors are full-time BCIT faculty members who generally are available all the time during the day, and that's when it'll be easier for you to have meetings and things like that with your supervisor. Okay, next question. Degree, somebody says, I've graduated with a biology degree in UBC. If I complete CST program in BCIT, would it make me qualified for applying through the alternative path? So yes, I actually believe, so transparency, this is all done with committees. But I'm somebody who will be on these committees, and in my mind, somebody with a degree, especially a science degree from a different university who has a CST diploma would be a great applicant for this kind of program. So yes. Okay, I mentioned additional scholarships, grant bursaries outside of BCIT for master's programs. Can I provide more information about that? So I mentioned, yes, I mentioned two acronyms, unfortunately. The first one was NSERC, so NSERC. That is the National Science and Engineering Research Council. So that is the main science funding body in Canada. So they offer graduate scholarships, which are, on a competitive basis, and you'd have to apply, you usually have to apply in the fall around now, and then, it's for the following academic year. So that is something that everybody can apply for, and they're competitive, but they're great. They're a good chunk of money. And the other thing I mentioned was MyTax, another acronym that's Mathematics of Information Technology and Complex Systems. I'm surprised I got that. So that's an organization that is also a national organization, but they have a local office here in Vancouver as well. And they offer things like funding for graduate student research and graduate student internships. So those are the two. And literally you can go to ncirc.ca or mytax.ca, and their web pages will be there, and they will tell you everything about their funding programs. Okay, are graduates from this program able to apply for PhD degrees? Yes. So it's up to the school that you're applying to what they're going to consider. I can't actually, so I can't say anything specifically about that. But what I can say is, even prior to having this master's degree, we've had students with the bachelor's degree, which was at that time the Bachelor of Technology degree, go on into PhD programs at not just local universities like SFU, but University of Toronto has accepted our students into graduate programs from BCIT. And frankly, BCIT has a great reputation locally, so the universities here will know who you are, and outside of the local area, they often don't know that much about any of the schools where people are doing. So they'll look at it and they'll look at the curriculum that you have done. So look at the courses you took, they'll look at your thesis, and you would be considered along with every other person applying for entry to a PhD program. Okay, next question about the evaluation of credentials for international applicants. So that's on the application page. So you're asking specifically how we use it. There is a specific organization which is eluding me right now, but it doesn't matter because when you go to the application page, it lists very clearly, if your previous degree is from any country other than essentially the United States, Canada, and a couple of other countries, then you have to go through this international evaluation service to get your degree sort of validated before you apply. And the exact organization is listed on the application page. Okay. For the project and internship path, when will we need to ask the co-op work permit prior? Okay, so this is sorry, I read that badly, but it looks like the question is for the project path, will you need to have a work permit essentially in order to come in and do that program? So that is actually a yes. So you need to get the work permit if you're an international student. This only matters obviously for international students. One of the reasons we set up the program as it is you have to select your path before you start in the program. So while you're applying, you select your path. You don't select it when you're in the program, you select it when you're applying. And the reason we do that is because if you apply to the internship path and you get accepted, then you can say, oh, I'm in a program that has an internship component, and that's a required part of the program. And that fact means that you can get a work permit that allows you to do that internship if you're an international student. So that's the reason that we make you select at the beginning. So if you select at the beginning, you will be able to get your work permit for that internship by virtue of being accepted to the program. If you apply to the thesis path, you don't need a work permit at all, so that's fine. It will be possible for students to try to switch between the paths if they change their mind, but for international students, the timing will be a little bit complicated. Okay. Next question. I'm finishing up a bachelor's of technology and electronics, as well as digital forensics and cybersecurity degree. I finished up a Bachelor of Technology and Electronics. My final project, okay, so I don't want to read this whole thing out loud for everybody, but essentially it's detailing some of the electronics kind of work that they've done in their Bachelor of in their combined education, doing a diploma, which is an electronics related area, and then the bachelor's degree in digital forensics and cybersecurity. So concerned with the entrance requirements. So yes, the Bachelor of Science in, sorry, the Bachelor of Technology in Digital Forensics and Cybersecurity. So I'm assuming you're talking about the BCIT degree, and I was involved in the most recent or one of the recent curriculum update processes for that degree. So I know that degree well. So it's not a computer science degree. It's missing some aspects of a regular computer science degree, but it is close. So I believe that you would be eligible to apply for the program, but you might be asked to take a small number of bridging courses, which I would have to go to the committee and decide exactly what they are, depending on your background. But I think it is a very close to an equivalent. And it also has the advantage that we have a security graduate level security course in the degree, which should be something that you would be particularly well qualified to do, which might offset your workload on that semester, which maybe would allow you to do a course to catch up on another topic. And so without getting into too much detail, I will tell you, I think that the main concern for somebody from digital forensics and cybersecurity program would be an algorithms course. So in the undergrad degree, So in the diploma at BCIT, you do an algorithms course, and then the degree, you do a second algorithms course. So then we have an advanced applied algorithms course in the master's degree. Basically, if you've never taken a course on algorithms, I believe you'd have to take a course on algorithms in order to succeed in that particular part. That would be my concern. Okay, new posts. Well, sorry. Just trying to. Oh, I'll show to the last person, by the way. I also think the details, which I'm not reading out loud because it's a long message, are all really interesting and good things relevant to our program. I actually think your background would provide an excellent background for a student in this program at the level of the research project. You just would have to make sure you can do the coursework. Okay, now to the new question. So this is somebody who's graduated from a different country with a GPA of 2.8 out of 4. And they're a permanent resident in Canada. And how can they prepare themselves? Oh, I see. So the question is, if you have a 2.8, and I guess you're applying as alternate entry. So the 2.8 out of 4 for the standard entry was the minimum qualification. So that's why I'm making an assumption. But if you have a 2.8 out of 4 and a degree in computer science, then you would sort of be meeting the minimum requirement, so you'd be okay. If you have a 2.8 out of 4 and it's not in computer science, then the standard there was 3 out of 4. So you were expecting slightly higher grades if you're going through alternate entry. And then I would say the way that you would increase that GPA would be, you're going to have to probably take some extra courses in computing to get into the program. And those courses would count towards how we do your GPA calculation. So it is complicated to do a GPA for somebody who has multiple degrees from multiple places and extra courses taken. But that will be something we have to manage when you're applying through the alternate entry pathway. Okay. What are the timelines to apply for the program? I'll refer you again to the website for the program, which I don't have handy in front of me, but it's we'll maybe pass you the links when we send you the email after. Maybe Yuri can include the link to the thing. There's only 5 minutes left in my meeting, but I've just run out of questions. There's one hand up. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, so I can give Raoul the floor. Maybe he has an issue with the Q&A. So what I will do, Raoul, I will allow you to use your mic. So feel free to verbally ask your question. Let's see if he's still there. You should be able to unmute yourself now, Raoul. And there's no response. I can only assume that he's either away or not interested in asking a question. Either case, I think you did a tremendous job, Aaron, in answering a lot of questions.
Yeah, so
quite the engagement.
I'll just say, by the way, Yuri, since I just said it, in the follow-up communication, will they have a link to the deadlines, to the actual application deadlines?
I can definitely include those. Yeah.
Even if there's just a link to the page for the program, then the application deadlines are right there. So that would be fine.
Totally.
And I'll just say, because I saw it just popped up that I've run out of time, or I'm 5 minutes from out of time. So I just wanted to be respectful of people's time. I know everybody showed up here. I want to say thank you very much for showing up. This is our first information session for this program. I'm thrilled that all of you have showed up and showed some interest. I hope that we find some great applicants here. And I'll say there is a contact on the webpage for the general contact for the program, which goes to Erdem, who showed his face earlier, and he usually deals with a lot of the administrative kind of questions. I'm very easy to find, Aaron Hunter. If you search for my name in BCIT, You'll find my page and you'll find information, including my email address. So absolutely, if you have more research related questions, then drop me a note and I'm happy to talk to you.
Great. Well, thank you again, Aaron. I'll echo those words. A lot of engagement, and I hope that you guys will be successful in applying. And yeah, we hope to see you all at BCIT at some point. Have a great evening and see you soon.